Hello, you're watching TelecomTV. My name is Martin Warwick. We're here at the automotiveIT International Congress in London's Docklands in a place called The Crystal. Peace, man and love. And I'm talking with Steve Masters, who is the VP of Customer Innovation and Design at BT Global Services. Steve, great to see you again.
Hi,
you brought me a present.
I have.
It's a screw.
It is indeed.
What am I supposed to do with that? Now, maybe you hadn't better tell me.
Well, you've got to give it back to me for a start.
I've given you it back. Explain.
So I was presenting at the event today, and it's BT are a big sponsor of the event. So, in today's world of left field competition, I wanted to try and explain and set the context for why BT are sponsoring the automotive event, the part that we're playing in the automotive industry, and our right to play in that industry. And it wasn't about BT being the next person to produce a driverless car or something as totally left field as that. It was more about the fact that this single screw is from a windscreen wiper assembly on the average family car, standard family car. I'm not at liberty to tell you which car I unscrewed this from. And the process to get that screw into the organisation, is through procurement, quality assurance, and all of the processes that thing goes through in order to be integrated into a solution. And then when you think that there are 30,000 average components in the 30,000 components in the average family car, BT's role is really around providing the infrastructure, the collaboration, the communications, everything around that whole supply chain. I mean, 30,000 components is a lot. Admittedly, that'll be grouped into companies, but still a lot of global presence. A lot of those manufacturers and suppliers are our customers. A high proportion of the automotive industry are our customers, and that really is the key thing that we bring to the party.
Now, you were talking here this morning. I'd like to begin by asking you, what are the trends that you're seeing? What's BT seeing in the automotive industry right now?
It's a very exciting time for the car. I mean, we all know and we all drive cars, and I think right from the way you consume the products from the manufacturers in the dealerships. The dealerships is one place to start. The decisions that people are making, and you probably know this from your own family and friends, that people are deciding on buying a car because you can plug one of the latest tablet devices into it, and that's quite surreal, really. It used to be about sort of performance and engine size and so on. The drivers are moving, changing. I'm not saying that's the only criteria, but I think the connected car is probably the most exciting trend that's happening in the automotive industry that we're seeing.
Would you say that basically end user computing, you talked about tablets and all the rest of it, is moving into the car as well as into the home and into the office and into the working environment? The whole thing is becoming just one great mass. Absolutely.
I mean, we talk about, so the percentages from the analyst figures are that 5% of cars are connected today, in the sense that the manufacturer builds something into those devices.
Yeah.
That's looking to grow in the next 10 years to probably 50% of all cars on the road. But the fact remains that actually, if you take a smart device, which most consumers have got a smartphone or a smart tablet or something that connects to the air either by cellular or by Wi-Fi. If you take that into a vehicle and then use a connectivity method like NFC or Bluetooth, once you connect it to that car system, you're then subjected to the same potential vulnerabilities as you would connecting to a computer to any type of device. So it's and I think people spend a lot of time in their cars. So if you're looking at somebody with a smart device, they're going to be spending a lot of time in a car, a lot of time in the house. So it's absolutely it's on a sort of a similar equal footing.
I want to move on to things like security now. How is BT helping car manufacturers prepare for the opportunities that we've been discussing? Big data, telematics, connected car, autonomous car, Internet of Things, machine to machine, etc. And what role do you have to play in things like the most vital things of all, which, as we were talking off camera about the fact that the amount of data, the amount of kit there is in a car now, all interconnected. It's very, very dangerous where the security on that to be compromised in some way so that hacktivists or hackers can get into it and literally cause chaos on the roads and in cities.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the car itself is the fundamental difference between that and you know, any other type of cyber threat is that it's a new playground for the hacktivists. And somebody asked me the question, why would someone attack a car there's no business value? And you know, the reality is that your average hacker, okay, doesn't want business value. They want to cause chaos, or they're out to get a name for a cause. And so you know, the car is a whole new playground. And as you just alluded to, the fact that, you know, if every BMW in the city today has got a cellular connection that deploys when the airbags are deployed, if in an accident, it deploys the coordinates from the sat-nav to the emergency services. Every one of those vehicles, even if it's only 3% of the market today, if you had the ability through an organised hack to stop every BMW in London today, there would be chaos. And imagine that in 5 to 10 years' time. So I think the security threat is very, very real.
Now, how's BT addressing that?
Okay, so I mean, the good news is that it's not a new thing, right? So we've been securing stuff for a long time, and mobility is not a new thing. You know, this is just a device. It's actually a device that doesn't have, the car is a device that doesn't have great conductivity. So there are all sorts of things that are being built into the car to give it that better connectivity. So the threat is going to become, you know, more and more real as these things become better connected. But, you know, BT is used to using information, using data, securing environments, and also being able to, you know, from our experience on the Olympics, some of the stuff that we've done around working with governments, around analytics and looking at organized threats, organized attacks, some of the predictability work that we can do, puts us in a really good position, you know, to work with the automotive industry, to really make sure that, you know, there's a strong security wrap around the vehicle or the vehicle community, and be able to, you know, secure the device, but also help with looking at, you know, organized and constructive attacks, whether they're actually on the automotive manufacturer themselves, or whether they're being used as a vehicle, no pun intended, to maybe shut down a city. Yeah.
Of course, one of the other buzzwords of our time is big data, and of course BT, simply by being what it is and where it's been for so long, is an expert in big data because you've got so much of it. How does that play into the automotive side of things? That's
an interesting question. And you know, big data for us is, yes, we can gather information from you know, a multitude of data sources that we have across the breadth of our network. We've got every single device that allows us to gather that information, but also, you know, working with partners, there's an awful lot that we can do. I mean, we buy data, for example. One particular example, we bought a load of data from Twitter. We bought 4 million records for Twitter, searching on a specific hacktivist group. And it's what you do with that data afterwards that's the key thing. I think anyone can gather it. And that's where our, you know, BT Assure analytics tool comes in, because that's one of the things that we use to visualize security threats. And again, on the Twitter records were specifically for an organized threat. So again, this wasn't in the automotive industry, we're just using it to as an example, really, but we were able to manipulate the data using our tools to be able to pinpoint when an attack was happening, and so we can easily apply that to the automotive industry as well. But one of the key things that I showed on the presentation down there, we took that same tool, and, you know, BT has 90,000 people globally, and a huge fleet of cars, whether it's company cars abroad or the large fleet of work vehicles that we have in the UK, we have telemetry data and information. So we took some data from that source and loaded it into the simulator. And again, we were able to look at the position of the location of vehicles, things like, you know, and manipulate that data and look at if there's an unusual amount of data coming out of a specific vehicle, so we can see if there's anything adverse happening. So it's how you visualize it that's the key.
Before we disappear in a couple of wisps of steam, because it's very hot in here, I've got one last question for you, Steve, if I might. What about looking into the future a little? Have you got, what's in the innovation pipeline as far as the automotive industry is concerned?
That's a good question, and I think, you know, we had the event yesterday at the BT Tower, and when a CIO of an auto manufacturer said to me, he said, right, give me, what was the last really creative innovation thing that you took to market with a customer? And I thought, ooh, that's an interesting question. He said, it doesn't have to be aligned to our industry, just tell me what the last innovation was. And I said, okay, it has to be the IDAMU, personalized videos, right, which we used with the finance industry with a UK bank, where you can with a customizable UI, you can very quickly and simply personalize a video. So you would get it from your bank and it would say, hi Martin, you know, check out the latest. And it generated there was some ridiculous figure, like a 400% increase in click-throughs. You know, it was phenomenal, the amount of personalization made. And the CIO said, well, that's really funny because actually it's quite interesting because we've started videoing our engineers when they're working on the car. And so, because when you take your car to the garage and you get a list of things back saying this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. And we found that actually the take-up response when we send a video back, that somebody's been saying, you know, I'm looking here, this brake thing's a bit worn and such and such, it made it far more real for the customer. Yeah. So that completely random thing that was used for the finance thing all of a sudden became very interesting to this CIO from purely taking the video idea that they'd already started, but actually making it something more robust and real for their customers. So I think, you know, that there are a whole series of things that we can take from an innovation perspective. But very much, again, if it's back to your point about the consumerization of IT and the end user computing revolution that we're going through, that's going to move into the car. And on-demand is going to be required in the car. Infotainment, you're going to have potentially two children sat in the back wanting to do their own thing. You know, they're going to grow up, one on social networking, one streaming videos. You know, two both watching completely different videos, or even watching the same video at a different time. You know the score. And you know, if it's we've seen buying decisions made on whether you can plug your smartphone into the car or not. I can see that situation just becoming far more competitive. And that's the sort of thing we're doing for our end users now, our end users and their customers. So, you know, we've got that same level of innovation to bring to the automotive industry and ultimately the connected car.
Things certainly are changing. Steve Masters, good to see you. Thanks for coming in, as usual. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Martin.